And welcome, everybody. This is Don Giannetti and lighting-essentials.com, project52prosystem.com. And we're here to chat with John DeMato, a New York City lifestyle and personal brand photographer, people shooter for the most part, I imagine. And
yeah.
And he is currently, are you in Brooklyn or New York City?
I'm Brooklyn is a part of New York City.
No, I meant Manhattan.
Oh, Manhattan. No, I'm in Queens.
In Queens, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, great place to be.
I think so.
Yeah, I loved Queens.
I never left, so yeah, I like it, and it seems like apparently it's a very popular destination for people living all over the country because the neighborhood has grown quite interestingly in a lot of different ways over the past 20, 25 years.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Queens. One of my photographer buddies had an apartment there, and he would lend me his apartment. Had one apartment in Manhattan from a buddy and one in Queens. So
look at you, living the dream.
Great food. Good God, great food. I think I gained 15 pounds every time I spent a couple of weeks there. Well, John, how you doing, man?
You know what? Since the last time we talked, I'm definitely, it's been an interesting ride. This whole bug going around the planet, unfortunately, it affected me.
I was going to say, unfortunately, you were a lottery winner there. You got one, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty tough too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going through temperature, it's becoming fall in the city over here. Unlike where you live, we actually have seasons. And
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Hot, super hot, and fuck it, I'm not going outside. It's way too hot.
Yeah, so we have seasons. So I mean, there's that.
But I'm going through a little bit of a seasonal change with some cold, and I can feel it in my lungs in a different way ever since I got sick, and it kind of sucks, but I'm managing. So
you're able to work. You're doing some interesting online photography, which I think just really fascinating to me. How you're doing that?
Yeah, I was working while I was still sick, while I was still feeling some of the major effects. Basically, what I've been doing is virtual photography, which I didn't really know was a thing until it became a thing in my mind.
Sure.
When I was doing it. But basically what happened was that during the beginning of the pandemic in April, I'm a photography sponsor for the National Speakers Association, the New York City chapter of the NSA. Because I work with speakers and trainers, consultants, expert-based business owners. And up until March, it was branded lifestyle, portraits, and live event photography kind of merged into one thing to offer my clients. And then all of that got torpedoed to shit because of what was going on in the quarantine and everything. And the association moved to virtual, and I just signed up to see some familiar faces because at that point it was pretty dark in this apartment. It was pretty bad for me. I wasn't feeling really hot, and I was pretty depressed and lonely. I live by myself. I have a money tree and my cameras, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So turned it on, watched the presentation. I'm like, you know what? I have my camera sitting in my office here, right on the floor over there. I'm like, you know what? Let me just grab the damn thing and feel useful. So I grabbed it and just started literally from this angle, kind of slumped in the chair, looking all messed up, and just started shooting some shots. And I looked at the back of the camera. I'm like, wow, this doesn't look as shitty as I thought it was going to look. And I decided to shoot the rest of the program for a couple hours. And then I'm like, they're not bad. Let me just share them. So I created a story about feeling useful, and which is the truth, which is exactly how I felt. And I wrote a very heartfelt kind of piece, and I tagged all of the speakers that were in the piece. And from that one post, it was shared to 2 other speakers. And that started an entire new revenue stream for me from one post one shot, one series of shots, 2 shares, and that was it. And I was off to the races.
That's great. That's great. Is anybody, you have much competition out there? Anybody else jumped on what you're doing?
I have absolutely no idea, and more importantly, I don't even care, because at the end of the day, it's not a race to what every other photographer is doing. It's never that. Even in normal times, I kind of separated myself from that kind of thing a while ago because it brought me down a lot of bad places with resentment and jealousy and feeling this need of competition and all that other shit that doesn't really serve me or move the needle for what I do. My goal is my audience, my clients, my people, they moved to Zoom, and so did I. And that's it. And in terms of the style or the way I shoot it exactly the same way I shoot human beings in the room. It's the same philosophy. I shoot a lot of coverage. I have a television background. I approach all of my shoots as a television producer, which inherently puts me in a different way of shooting, because I think in terms of not always what's the most flattering in terms of necessarily getting too close with the camera or is the angle. No, it's about the emotion, the sentiment, putting them in the best position possible and kind of shaking it out afterwards. And I do that with a laptop on a folding table in my apartment from various angles as I'm in sweatpants rolling around on the floor shooting it.
So what you do, if I have this right, and let me know if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will. What you do, you're actually coaching people on the screen, and then you're shooting the screen.
Yes, and so there's a couple of different ways that I do the virtual. They have a live event. They're either doing a 3-day summit. They got the 1 day. They're doing the real thing. I shoot the real thing without talking to them. My goal is to basically capture them in different rooms, different angles, different expressions on their face, which is always the most important piece. Their expressions, their body language, their speakers.
Sure.
So when you go like this, you got to get it right. So that's the real stuff. But a lot of what I do is staged. Because with staging comes a lot of flexibility. They change their outfits, they can change the virtual backgrounds, they can physically change the backgrounds, they can stand or sit. And then we also get to sometimes curate a staged audience where they're bringing in either real clients or their family and friends or people that are on their list or whatever. But the point is they fill the space to make it look like it's a real audience, because the goal of these images are just like all the other images that we shoot, that I shoot for these people, which is illustrate the experience of what working with you looks like, in this case, on a screen, because it's different, it's weird. And even now, 7+ months into this thing, I still have people like, how the hell do you do this? Why do you do this? So the education still needs to happen, and that's why I'm still pumping out tons of content to teach people, like, yeah, these shitty cell phone shots you're getting while you're talking looks like crap, and if you want to present yourself as the authority in your space, that is not how to do it. And
what do you have them do anything in particular to get a better camera shot or would they use something they're not well, let me ask you, are they using something like the camera here in my Apple, my iMac, or are they using something different?
Depends upon who you're talking about. There are some clients that I've done about 135 of these things, so I've seen the gamut from I'm just starting out and I don't have a light and it looks like I'm in a witness protection program because I'm silhouetted, or I decided that sitting in front of the window was a good idea. Or all the way up to, I get paid 50 grand a speech and I just renovated my entire office that has lights and they're all on movable things. And I have background LED lights and I have some of these people have auto poles with like multiple rolls of paper. There was a guy in Singapore that had like 4 rolls up there. I'm like, Jesus, man, you got more shit than I do.
Wow.
But that's that's what it is right now. It's a big range, Don, because quite frankly, it's still brand. It's not even a year old.
No,
This whole
no.
thing. People have been working with Zoom for, years and years and years and years, but not in this highly concentrated way.
No.
And for the vast majority of people, they have no idea what they're doing. So,
Well, I got a little program. I don't know if you know about it. It's called Camo, C-A-M-O. Do you know that?
no,
It turns your iPhone into a 4K Zoom camera.
really?
Yep.
Wow. How does it look?
So it looks great. It looks really good.
Wow.
It has a free version and I want to say $30 version. If you get the $30 version, you got color, temperature, and all those controls. But the free version is just the camera, and you can still adjust the camera for exposure, with your finger. You can do that. But I was thinking, if I was to have you do that for me, I'd probably set that up so I would get you would get the absolute best picture you could get from me, and that would be scary.
Now, does
Very
that,
scary.
well, I mean, only if you do your hair in this way. I was expecting the hat, but I got the handsome pull. I like it, though.
No, I don't do the hat.
You're ready. But what I was going to say, when it comes to using your phone, does that attachment make it manual iris so that it doesn't auto pop every time you move?
No, you can lock it. All the camera things are still there, so you can lock the focus. Yep.
Then it'll look good. Yeah.
Yep.
And plus, we would just need to do some. I'm doing a keynote in January for a personal branding for photographers conference, and I gotta actually light this damn thing for the first time. Right now, I just have my one light sitting off on the side, and I'm looking at this now. Like, you bring that up, it reminds me. It's like, oh no, I got to use my cam link. I need to use my D5. I got to set up the 50. I got to sit all the way back. I got to do things. It's like, Jesus, this is too much work.
That's great. I'm really, I was really concerned there for you when I read that you got sick, and then you kind of dropped off for a while.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. But I love the fact that you pivoted, man. That's called a pivot.
I don't use the P word, but I appreciate the sentiment behind it, though. And yeah, you know what it was? No, it's called, how the hell am I going to keep the lights on in my apartment when I can't even get the hell out of bed barely to move, or let alone shoot anywhere in a city that's completely locked down, I mean, it was, I needed to feel useful. And I said that before, and I'll say it again. That really is a lot of it, because at the end of the day, yeah, I shoot for a living, but I shoot for a living because this is my life, and this is what I love, and this is what I do. And my hobby is photography as well. And when you're sitting around for 6 weeks and you're questioning what's going to happen to your lungs and your body long term, and you're not shooting, you get a little loopy and a little crazy. So I was fortunate enough to have this thing kind of hit me in the head, and we turned it into something. I know that guy.
Yeah, he's upside down.
Yeah.
I know I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine that shooting with you is kind of interesting, because he's from television, so every 8 minutes he stops and tells you about coffee or Ford or some sort of commercial. That's how you handle it there.
I just redid this. This thing's hot off the press last week.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see, folks, he's really nailing down what he wants to do. I just think this is really great.
Thanks.
Well, you're talking to the Project 52 folks, and we've got people from other of my groups. It's not just a closed group. There's a lot of folks here. I wonder if any of them I know Mark's going to have questions. I know Stephanie's going to have questions. Do you guys have questions? Anything you want to talk about? I'm going to go and find some work of John, and John's going to tell us how he's doing it. So
I cry a lot before I shoot, and then I find the strength, and that's how it happens.
Yeah, I have a question, Don.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to start on a project which was photographing Holocaust survivors
Okay.
in Phoenix area.
Hmm.
And these people are obviously in their 80s, 90s, and more. And they're not very accessible at this time because they're the most vulnerable population of anybody.
Yeah.
So I suspended trying to do it, but these people aren't getting any younger. And if I saw what you were doing, but I didn't understand it entirely, how you actually could set something like that up, where I don't know if they have to be the fanciest portraits in the world, but just sort of capture the people and maybe spend some time on a video about some experience with them. So I wanted to ask what you think might be possible in that setting. I mean, I can't go into, I wouldn't want to go into where they live.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to break that. I mean, if they have somebody who's kind of, that they trust and is not going to kill them with the virus there to assist, that would be good. But after that, I don't know.
Well, the first question is, what's your goal with this? What are you trying to do?
Well, I wanted to get a group of shots that says to capture these people while they're still around. Yeah, it's to
But
preserve.
what are you going to? The photos are one thing. I understand that. That's challenge one. Challenge two is what's going to accompany these photos. What, is there a story attached? Are you going to interview them, or is it video? Or are you going to write something?
I'll probably write something. I don't know yet. I'm talking to, there's a museum in Phoenix that would put them up, would exhibit them, and they might help me get some funding for it. So this is what they do. This is the kind of thing that they focus on. So I'm sure we would write stories. I've seen other books on this stuff where you write there's a page or so per person, and you have the photograph and you have the page, and you could even do it audio as well. You know, just get a video audio key into it, which could be done at the same time. So I haven't quite rounded that out. Just finding out if it can be done is number one for me.
Well, number one is figuring out how you're actually going to like what it is that you're trying to do with this in terms of everything. Before you pick up a camera,
Okay.
write anything down. It's why am I doing this? Where is this going to end up? What's the goal of whatever it is that they say? I mean, you can go in a million different directions with it. You have to nail down that's your foundation. The how is secondary.
Okay.
Because the way in which you shape whatever story you capture from these people could dictate the way you photograph it. And also, you have a long lens, don't you? They can be outside. You can maybe make outside work. You might not necessarily want to shoot the virtual stuff. You might want to shoot something from a long range, or it could be a series where they're all looking out windows and kind of being reflective. Or, I mean, it's endless. And then how many people are you going to do this with? And what are each of their challenges with respect to them physically being able to move, talk, all of that stuff. So I would come up with a high level conversation, or figure out the foundational high level stuff first, and then start to think about how you can do that, because the way you build the foundation will dictate the way that you shoot and capture their stories.
One thing I would caution you on, Jay, whenever I go to do anything, I make a list of the pros and the cons. And in this particular case, you're dealing with some very elderly people that are gonna, if you're thinking about doing it virtually, who are gonna have to adapt to some fairly sophisticated technology. And
right.
I don't know if you've ever witnessed a kid trying to show his granddad how to use Zoom, but I don't know if you even have the time to do that. So I think doing it virtually would be adding more roadblocks to your project than doing it, as John said, standing in doorways would be a great way.
Okay, so just
A
keeping the
doorway
social
and a window is
distancing.
just such an incredible metaphor. But you'd be better off doing that than trying to do it, I think, virtually.
Okay, I hadn't thought about that.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry to
I'll,
cut you off there. I was also going to
no.
say the other thing about the technology is also the lighting and the framing. You're going to have to, I don't know if you've ever tried this. It's pretty damn weird to direct people on a screen. And if you're dealing with someone that's elderly, that compounds the problem even more. So even to further Don's point about the difficulties of working on Zoom, then you have to deal with the logistics of directing in a way that you've probably never directed before. And from someone who's done it, it's really strange.
Yep.
Even when you've done a bunch, it's still very weird because there's a lag in the way that we communicate on here sometimes, and left is right, right is left. And just keep that in mind as you're formulating this project. But I would definitely check in with the museum and see what they would be interested in, and then kind of collaborate with them in order to figure out how to make that happen.
Okay, well, this is a good first step to find out what might be able to happen. And then I
Yeah.
can have a better conversation with them about what might work from both ends, or actually from all the ends. Okay,
John?
that was a good start. Thank you.
John, tell us about the Erin King shoot here. Was this a setup that you did with her, or is this her actually presenting?
Nah, that's all her stuff. I love popping into meetings when they have setups like that. It makes my work look a hell of a lot better.
looks like she's got good lighting and a nice background and shallow depth of field and all the.
Unfortunately, I had to do a lot of highlight recovery on that because it wasn't as smooth as that looks. I had to do some work on it, but I got it. But the point being is, yeah, now his tie is fantastic. He's white paper standing, all soft boxes. He did a great job. It was smooth.
I like it. What you're working around in your apartment. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Finding different places to put the laptop.
Yep. Same thing here. I mean, the whole point is to create, again, to reinforce that experience for my clients so that they can see, that they can use these photos to show their audience, hey, this is what it looks like. So it's not as ambiguous.
No, it's absolutely, it's just right back to the roots of marketing. Show people what they need to see. They need to see what they're going to look like. And the people that they're sending it out to market to need to know what they're getting. What a great idea. I'm very sorry you had to get sick to discover it, but
me too.
Very sorry about that.
I have a question for you, John.
Sure.
So say you're doing this with somebody and they have a setup that is less than adequate. Like, how are you getting them from, the horrible, just webcam, no light, whatever, to getting their setup to where you can actually have it look good? Are you getting them lights, or you send out a kit, or how do you get that to?
Nope. I make it work is what I do. And the way that I make it work is by grab your laptop. This sucks. Turn it around for me. Okay, I see that over there. Go over there. Turn it this way. Put your laptop on a couple of things so it's eye level. See all that shit in the background? Get rid of it. Bring in something else. Do this. I'm a television producer. I come from shooting, thousands of interviews in closets, literally, and also really beautiful spaces. But what I had to do in those times where you have 10 minutes to figure something out for someone to sit down and then shoot this interview, and you got to make the background look interesting. So basically I'm I'm relying on that experience to be able to spot something, and without physically being able to grab anything, direct the person to make everything look clean and better, so that we position them in a way that whatever elements are in the background kind of fit within where they're standing, because ultimately the whole goal of this shot is to get everyone's attention this way. And when it comes to a lack of light, we do the best we can. I'm like, do you have a lamp in the place? Do you have something? I mean, listen, by and large, 7 out of 10 people that I work with have professional lights. And it's the 3 that I got to really, work with before we start shooting. If it's a real event, it is what it is. I can't stop them. If it's a staged event, I have control over the ability to get them to a place where we can make this thing look halfway respectable.
And if it is a real event, I would think chances are it is at least lit somewhat good. Someone's in charge of the lighting, right?
You would think, Don.
I would think that. Yes,
but you would be wrong, sir.
I have not visited that many, so I'm just going to throw it out there as a,
No, and it pisses me off sometimes. It's like, why are you guys using these crappy virtual backgrounds when all you simply needed to do is go to a blank wall in your house with a laptop and call it a day, to keep it very simple? And they don't do that. Instead, they decide to sit and, they're silhouetted, or they're totally blown out, or it just looks like crap. And it's been interesting, but I'm grateful to have these problems. Let me tell you.
That'd be a very good white paper short book on Amazon on, just exactly how you could do this.
Well,
you have the credibility to pull that off.
I mean, yeah, I could. And
you write a lot.
Yeah. I just wrote a bunch of blogs for the photographer blog that I do before I got on the horn with you right now. But
what is the photographer blog?
It's called actually, you're on my website. See where it says For Photographers on the nav bar? Click that little bad boy right there. Yeah. This is my blog. This is my blog for photographers as of right now. And I broke it down in a bunch of different ways and different kinds of things that I'm talking about. Quite frankly, what I'm doing is trying to I'm working on a framework for an educational platform. And what I'm doing is leveraging my blog as a way to work out my material, kind of in the same way that a comedian works out their material doing 15-minute spots. Each of these represent my spots, so to speak, working in different aspects of where I think I'm going with what my platform is going to be. So
excellent. Very excellent.
Yeah.
I'll get this hooked up for everybody. Here.
Where's my COVID hair shot? I think you passed the COVID hair shot.
Did I?
Go back down, go back down, go back down, go back down. That shot right there, and not that one. That one, black and white. Yeah, the black and white one is, that's COVID hair. I cropped most of it out. And it's a shot I took with my monopod and my iPhone. I'm like, I got to commemorate this moment in life. I got some other ones where it's like really, really out there. But
yeah, mine was over my ear before I finally.
I was trimming that. I couldn't stand that.
I can't stand it either.
It's crazy.
I have a restraining order between me and anything sharp, so I had to.
It's probably good.
Long story, probably not the right venue for it. But who else has got questions?
Here's a quick one for you. You talk about others' branding, and how do you go about understanding their brand and then helping them to communicate it?
Oh, good question.
That is a great question. You talk to them. You read their articles, you engage their content, and you ask them questions. I just wrote an article about this website redesign, not this blog, the website redesign, the homepage and the services page. And the reason why I changed it was because I talked to seven different colleagues, speakers, trainers, consultants, expert-based business owners. And what I did is I wrote this website out and then I showed it to them, and then by the end of it I rewrote it 5 times based on what they said. Why? Because I talked to them about what resonated with them, and what resonates with them is how I build my brand, because I'm basically presenting myself as the expert go-to photographer in my space to help them get the photos that they need to create an emotional connection with their audience. So that's kind of how you do that. You don't just assume and hope for the best. You talk to them and you engage them and you ask questions.
Just as with any brand, there's so much before the shoot that has to happen. You really have to understand everything. And many brands, and I don't know, John, do you ever use a lookbook? Do you ever do a Pinterest board or any of that stuff?
Nope.
No. If you're doing like product stuff, sometimes that can really, really help. But you kind of know their brand before you get to shoot time. You have to. You can't go in blind. It just won't work. It just
no. I haven't done that since I can't even remember. You know, I have a pre-session call. Even with that virtual stuff, I talk to everybody that is shoot beforehand. They don't just go onto a calendar and book a shoot with me. That doesn't exist. And the reason is because I want to talk to these people to understand where they're coming from, what they need, what they plan to do with this stuff, and just get a sense of their personality, especially for the stuff where it's in person. When I'm shooting someone in person, I have to talk to these people, because it's not just about getting the details and the nuances and the wrinkles. Yes, I'm going to shoot people working on their laptop, working with clients, doing all of that stuff, brainstorming ideas, all of the different day-to-day activities that are in their lives. But I need to know how to talk to these people and direct them. And the way that you learn how to do that is by listening to the way that they respond to how you communicate with them on the phone, and what do they respond to most. And once you understand, okay, they're resonating more when I'm being a smart ass, or they're resonating more when I'm giving them a kick in the ass, or they're resonating more when I'm being empathetic and kind of easing up, but still within my range of personality,
Sure.
That's what I'm going to go with. And that's what they're going to respond to when I'm working with them in the room, when the camera's in their face and it gets weird for them. So that's why we have those strategy calls. It's a comprehensive look into who the person is, what they need, what we need to shoot, what our schedule is going to be, what locations, what outfits, what props, everything all in one. And yeah, I don't know how I did it beforehand. Oh, I do. I just showed up and just snapped photos and hoped for the best, which when they're paying thousands of dollars, that's not what's going to work. We don't hope for the best. We ensure over delivery.
Excellent. Excellent. Who
Yeah.
else?
It only took a couple of years to figure
Who
that
else?
I had some questions. First, I saw your website a few months ago and seeing it again, and I really like the improvements. But when you first started the sample thing, so you took your computer and you took pictures of people speaking all of, it's like a marketing kind of angle. It looks like to me. Then you have to sell it to the people that you shot. I mean, are the people that you knew already, or how did you do that with people you didn't know? I know you said you put some pictures out. Once they called you or you followed up, and you got to sell it as a session. How did you do that?
Well, for the first 5 months, I didn't have to sell a damn thing. They just called me. But that's not a testament to the website. That's a testament to the fact that I've put in years of developing relationships with my audience, which is what this ultimately boils down to. The lesson learned here is not so much the execution on the virtual photography, although that is important. But what's important to know here is that the way that you pandemic proof yourself, or however cute way you want to phrase that, is the same way that you build a business in good times. It's about establishing a rapport and a connection with your audience to know where they're coming from, and to not only know where they're coming from, and to know how to position yourself with the words on your website. It's about actually having connections with people, and you follow up with these people and you nurture these relationships over the course of time. If I didn't do that, this thing wouldn't have sold. I could tell you that right now. But the reason why it sold was because of the fact that the people that shared it on my behalf are so well respected in the community in which I work. That's what sparked the whole thing. And I literally started posting probably a couple after that one post, and then I started getting more. I would say probably about 2 weeks after that original post, I started posting consistent content, because then I shot another one of these events. But really, I didn't have to post anything. It all came from word of mouth. Now I'm posting about it, because now that the bubble is kind of burst a bit and it's coming back down to baseline. So I'm posting stuff now on social, in my blogs. I'm sharing stuff. I'm doing and also another big way to kind of promote yourself is by doing stuff exactly like this, having conversations with communities of people so that they know who you are. I'm doing this all over the place with podcasts and other meetings in different organizations with the speakers and trainers I work with. So that's how it worked. That's how it happened for me. And it was a first, I have to say.
Well, your website reflects that, the relationships, because it's like you're talking to clients you've already had. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. And that's what I appreciated about the site. And it's nice to hear that's how, the work came. I work with a lot of, I'm part of a lot of groups where they're doing a lot of online speaking, and I can see that there's a real need for this. I've done a lot of consulting on backgrounds and lighting, even with old people that don't understand internet at all, just because of our social community groups that I'm involved in.
Yeah.
And so I can see opportunity, and I'm getting ready to make a big move to Hawaii. So I need to continue or think of things I can do, because there's, they're in a major economic slump. So I have to continue to work however I can.
Well, virtual is a good option. Well, it's not like you got to work at this. You got to put in the reps. It's like, oh, I'm going to shoot a screen. Cool. To Don's point earlier about people doing this stuff, I haven't seen any professionals yet in my area. Of course, it's a big world, so I have no idea. But in terms of my world, I'm the only one doing this stuff, really. And for the stuff that I've seen other people post, it doesn't pop, because they're just doing basic straight on stuff. So what I would say to you, if you're thinking about doing this, think about it from the perspective of how you photograph people in real life, and translate that approach to this so that it doesn't look flat, two-dimensional. I'm shooting straight on, and ooh, there it is, and oh, I got the keyboard in there. It's way more than that. It's more nuanced. And most importantly, if you're going to shoot speakers, you have to shoot a lot, because when you shoot on this thing, you can't freeze motion as easy as you can in real life, because this thing's all blurry. Look, see all that, how my hand does that? It's real fun to look at 400 photos like this when they're talking like this and moving around like that and all this other shit.
And they make funny faces in video.
Huh?
You can catch those odd faces you make when you're talking.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've caught everything virtually, because I shoot the shit out of these things, and I shoot it from a million different angles. But I shoot regular events like an animal too, though. I'm not a spray and pray, or I'm gonna go. I've seen that. It drives me absolutely mental. It's like, I don't know how you get paid to just walk around and take 3 shots in an hour. It's ridiculous. But the reality is you have to be very, very, very pop, 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 pop. Try here, try here, try here, try here, try full screen, go split. Like right now I have this thing on split screen, but before I was changing through the options, because I'm used to looking at this with the perspective of I'm going to photograph it. So like even doing these conversations now, I'm flipping through, because I'm used to it now by shooting it. But it's interesting. And I would also say, as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, if my Wi-Fi was strong enough, I'd take it on. I have a fire escape, so I would take it on my fire escape and shoot it out there. But unfortunately, the Wi-Fi dies through the brick wall, so I don't really have it. But Give it a shot. It's worth it, because here's the other thing. You could shoot. I've shot people in Malta, Australia, England. I've shot you people out in the West Coast that are out there. Canada. You can travel all over the world with a screen, and it opens up your ability to make money from home. So it's definitely a good idea if you can build the audience for it.
So do you consider the personality of the person you're shooting? Because I saw like the background, the orange background, and then it's at an angle. I mean, to me, it seems like
yes. Everything is purposeful. Everything in those photos, every single photo that's on that website is done with purpose and intention. There's no lucky shit on there. That expression, all of them are done with intent and purpose. In terms of now that was shot in a real place, but oh, is this her gallery? Yeah. So in some of the speakers I've shot them in real life and virtually. So I'm trying to make that connection with people. But anyway, yeah, the whole point is personality and freezing the energy that they're conveying in their body language, because if they're speaking, that's what we need to convey to people. Because the other thing that I tell my clients, and I'm trying to impress this upon them, is that don't just use the virtual photos to promote virtual offers. We live in a world right now where you live on a screen, regardless of if you're educating or just talking to people. There's not a lot of in-person interaction. So leverage the expression and the emotional sentiment in those photos, regardless if it's on a screen, to visually punctuate all of the content that you share. So I'm trying to really push that to people right now and get them in a mindset of being more open to leveraging these shots beyond the virtual promotion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
John, I have a question. Do you find that your clients are a little bit more relaxed because they're not staring down the business end of a camera and a flash and all that in person?
They're staring at the lens of their DSLR, their built-in webcam, or their, if they have one of those Logitechs. So yes and no. Some of them feel weird because it's weird to talk to someone on a screen and have their photographs taken while they're not in the room. It's weird for some of them because they're not fully yet comfortable delivering to a screen. A lot of people take for granted that, I could just do a keynote on a laptop. For people who are used to speaking in front of 1,000 people on a stage and have a 20-foot, riser to walk back and forth on, this is strange. So at the end of the day, everybody's different. But one thing that I found to be very helpful is that since I have the audio function on this thing, I can at least talk to them so that it doesn't feel completely odd. So that's how I kind of walk them through it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Who else?
So John, I've got a question. How do you handle the contracts, the paperwork, expectation management, delivery of your product, payment?
Venmo, PayPal. I have a landing page. Don's on, what do you want? You're in my gallery somewhere.
What's your landing page?
Go to services, please. And the first one's virtual. Click learn more about the virtual photography sessions. That's my landing page for it. And then if you would you please scroll all the way down. Blah, 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 blah. There you go. Go back up. Keep going, keep going. The 3-tier system is right there. That's the 650, that's the 450, and that's the 250. I don't do contracts for these. I do contracts for the branded lifestyle portraits, this stuff, and I also don't do a split either, half and half, because I don't want to go through the process of having to refund people if they're gonna skimp on a 250 deal. It's not worth my time and effort, so I just wait till the end. But in terms of managing expectations, there it is. And then I talk to them on the phone to reinforce it. And I said before, I want to talk to people to get a sense of who they are and what they need. What I'm also trying to do is to bump them up to the high offer. I'm trying to, listen, we're business owners. We're not just artists. You know, if I wanted to just be an artist, I'd still work in TV, working on a crappy television show and walking around New York City taking street shots. That's not how this works. You got to go out there and you got to get people. So that's part of what I do with that. And actually, every landing page that's through that services page, so I have my virtual services, I have the branded lifestyle portrait stuff, and then I have the year-long recurring program, the Persuasive Expert program, which is new. All of them are within this format where it's landing page, testimonials, everything laid out, a gallery of just those images, and then at the bottom is the 3 tiers. Each of them have the 3-tier system. So to keep everything consistent.
Let me ask you about your 3 tiers. Are you finding, as most research has shown, that you sell more the middle one than the 2 extremes, or?
It's a close call between 2 and 3. And it goes in waves, and I don't, this month so far, it's just been a couple of the 250s, but last month, for 1 week, I had 3 650s in 1 week, and an in-person portrait session too.
Yeah.
So that was a good week. But point is, that's what I'm trying to, the whole point of that is to bullseye people to the middle.
Sure. Sure.
But,
yeah, research will show. We talk about this a lot in Drop and Pop, that kind of thing when you're setting up your stuff. Most people don't want the bottom. They think the bottom isn't going to work for them. They'd like to do the top, but they'll settle for the middle. So the middle is usually your sweet spot. And the top, you have to work very hard to make the top, you got to add some more bells and whistles to get them up there. But I love your idea of talking to them.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to move them up, that's the best way to move them up is in person.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually going to be, I'm in the process of dusting off the producer hat, and I'm scripting a promotional video to help kind of shepherd people to start thinking in that light without me talking to them. I'm going to put on the services page a video that'll incorporate a couple of 2 clients going through the virtual and the in-person stuff. And my goal is to help kind of push them from there to kind of the year-long thing. So I'm working on that right now. But ultimately, it doesn't beat a conversation. Conversation is, that's how you really can lock people in, especially if your personality resonates with theirs. That's when it's nice and smooth.
Yeah, I'm thinking that in the not too distant future, as in like now, photographers should have promotional video for themselves. Whether you're still a photographer or doing what you're doing, whatever, you need a promotional video.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. The only reason why I don't have one is because, quite frankly, I don't feel like shooting it. Can I do it? Of course. Do I want to? Absolutely not. I'm still burned out from working on a talk show for years on end. But when I did this redesign, and I had one of my colleagues look at this, that like, yeah, video would really probably sell this. I'm like, I know. And you were like the 3rd person that's told me that, and I didn't need anyone to tell me that in the first place. But at the end of the day, I'm finally just going to hire someone to shoot my script, and then I'll edit it myself. But it really does help. It really does. There's, and incorporating the work, the photos into the video is a huge piece, because that really connects people. And doing a video where you're not speaking, where your clients are speaking on your behalf. It's not necessary. It's basically a very complex testimonial that breaks down a lot more than just, oh, he's an amazing photographer. Nobody cares about that at all, because that's just noise at this point. Oh, an amazing photographer, I'm going to recommend them all to my friends. Who gives a shit? What does that do? It does nothing. So what I'm going to do is, and I've already started scripting it. I send out questions for testimonials to all of my clients, portrait, virtual, all of that, 5, 6 questions each. And I'm kind of using that as my spine. And then I'm going to break up where they're going to talk. And you won't hear that just, oh, he's an amazing. It's why. Why is it amazing? What were your apprehensions before the session? Why did you choose to work with this guy? What was the value of the session? How did you feel in front of the camera? Like all of that stuff. Why? Because in the person's voice, you just jumped. There you go. In the person's voice, in my client's own words, as opposed to mine, will resonate more with people because they've already heard my words on the homepage. But when they go to the services page and they're looking through the potential ways that I can help them, before they click on those landing pages, if they watch that video that's in the voice of someone who was in their shoes prior to them hiring me, now all of a sudden that's a much more relatable position. So the only way they're going to hear my voice on that video is all the sound that I'm going to pick of myself directing them, looking over photos, saying something stupid, whatever the case may be, interspersed throughout the piece. But the rest of it is the spine is going to be my client speaking on my behalf. And I suggest everyone approach it that way. You have plenty of time to present yourself on screen. Doing this is very important. When you're talking to people and presenting to groups, it's very important. They get a sense of your personality and the work and all of that as like a whole. But when you're trying to sell, think about who the person that's visiting your website, think of their mindset. Where are they coming in? And understand that you have to connect with those people in a unique way, and doing it in your voice. Yeah, it's possible, but it would be a lot stronger if it was someone that was in their shoes.
That's great. Absolutely great. That's gold. I hope everybody got that. This is recorded, of course, but that is it's worth the price of admission, John. That's great. Awesome. Alex has a question down there. Alex?
Where?
Hi. Thanks, Don. I was just wondering with the 3 packages, if there was a reason for you doing low, medium, high rather than high, medium, low. Just wonder what the thinking behind that was, because I've seen it presented both ways, and I know it must have a different sort of effect on the buyer, possibly.
I wanted to slow build it.
Okay.
This was basically an offer that never existed ever, and I'm just kind of testing it. So when I put the page together,
Right.
like, let me just go small, medium, large, and just the hell with it. I mean, I have
Okay.
nothing to compare it to, so let me just ride with it, and that's what I did.
Cool. Okay, thanks. No, that's interesting.
Yeah, it worked. So what the hell?
Are you building you build your own website?
Yeah, every syllable, every vowel, everything.
Squarespace? What?
What's that?
Is this WordPress? Squarespace?
Squarespace. Yeah. Yeah, the original layout was created by one of my colleagues and clients, Pia Silva. She's a branding specialist and for businesses, solopreneur businesses, and her husband designed the very first iteration of this website for January 2017. It's when I retired from the Swiss Army knife jack of all trades crap, and I went into the niching business to specialize. And they did this typography, and they did the font choice, and I've run with that. But everything else I've completely changed, and I've completely changed the original layout. And really, the one thing when you're building a website is don't worry about the bells and whistles. Don't worry about what it looks like. You got to focus on the story first. I mean, that's a general overall rule that a lot of photographers, I think, tend to take for granted. Oh, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And when I hear people say that, I say, yeah, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but don't let it speak on its own behalf. Because when you do that, you're leaving the context and the whole intent and purpose of what you shot in the hands of someone looking at it that has no idea where you came from or why you did what you did.
Their 1,000 words may not be your 1,000 words.
Exactly. Bingo. And even may or may not, don't be lazy. I was a lazy photographer for many years. Oh, I'm just going to put the photo up. Let me put like 2 hashtags that have absolutely nothing to do with the photo. Screw it, it's enough. Surprisingly, no one cared. And and I found out why. It's because you can't just post pretty photos and hope for the best. We're not in the business of just posting pretty photos. We're in the business of building relationships and nurturing those relationships with people, you know, depending upon whatever it is that you do with a camera. And if you're a people shooter specifically, I pretty much speak mostly to people shooters, especially headshot and portrait photographers, because I can't really relate to the other stuff because that's not my bag. But what I can tell you is it's just absolutely important that you do not forget the story.
Yep. Story is the marketing. It's the only way to market these days. And we are in I keep saying this, we're in a unique position because all marketing today is visual. All marketing is visual. We make photographs. This is the best time ever to be a photographer. You're going to hear people say, oh, it was great in the 90s, and oh, there was all this. Yeah, that was just gatekeeper after gatekeeper after gatekeeper. It was really hard. Now, the only gatekeeper is looking at you in the mirror. That's it. It's the only gatekeeper out there. You have yourself to fight. There's so many opportunities. And we have a photographer with us today who saw an opportunity and took it. Which wouldn't that opportunity wouldn't have existed in the 90s or the early 2000s. It just wouldn't have existed. It didn't exist at all. So I'm just super excited for you, John. I think it's a great thing you're doing. It's a really unique and much needed fresh approach, and we'll see how you do with it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's now a part of what I'm doing moving forward. So for better or worse, here we are. And I'm just glad that the bug didn't take me out so I could actually see this thing through.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think the only thing you have to worry about is if all the restaurants close, then you'll starve to death. But hey, if we all send him tacos, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
I'll just make eggs. I'll be fine. I'm good.
FedEx is working on instant taco delivery. All right. Well,
okay.
We're at the end of the time. Does anyone have one last question? I'm going to thank you so much for coming out, John, and speaking with Project 52 and all the folks here. Certainly appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Great. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll tell you if anything happens with my project.
Yeah. Keep me posted. You can find my information through, the internet stuff with Don and all.
Thank you. That was very helpful just to get out of the box. So that was great. Appreciate it.
Glad that was helpful. Look forward to seeing what you can do with it.
John, I'm going to tell you I'd love to check in with you again right after the first of the year and see how the winter's doing for you.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Fantastic.
I would prefer to be in Arizona, but because it's freezing shit here. But
in December, yes. In December, yes. August, not so much.
No. I want nothing to do with that place.
You can just open up the oven door and sit a chair in front of it. That's pretty much us for 3 months out of the year. So.
Oh my gosh!
You stick your head in the oven too, John?
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Well, thank you so much, John, for coming out, and I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone else for being here. So great.